Hi there everyone, before the podcast starts I just have a massive announcement to make. I've just received the first copy of my book, What is a Supernatural? It's a story of a 21-year-old who ran 100 marathons in 100 days, and it details all the lessons and all the wisdom that I learned through that journey. It's centered around a question: what are the 10 most important things in your life? Each chapter of the book, I give one item from my list. And like I said, it details everything that I went through running 100 marathons in 100 days. And I truly hope that it can inspire you to uncover or perhaps re-examine what are the 10 most important things in your own life. The book will be available in the next month or so. It will be available on Takealot as well as my website. And I'll definitely be posting more details in the weeks to come. Thank you so much and enjoy the podcast.
Everyone before the election kept saying 2024
Yes.
is going to be the crisis year.
Yes.
And I kept saying before the election, 2024 is not the crisis. 2029 is the crisis. So it was sort of like something that you were expected to do, and then I fell into it, and then I completely just fell in love with the idea of just helping to make things better, you know. I'm gonna try not to get myself into trouble, because I expressed my view on this once and I got a hell of a text message from someone. I really predict it could be the turning point in politics for South Africa. It's going to be hands down one of the biggest challenges we're going to face, our generation. And that's my response to adversity. Like, when there's a wall in front of me, I'm like, well, if I can't go under it and I can't go over it and I can't go around it, I better hit it with some force because I'm going through it. For our generation, the one message that they must take is that this nation, this system, this democracy, it's yours.
Otsile, thank you so much for your time today, brother.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very excited for this one. So, episode 12, we tend to start off our episodes with a quick rapid fire word association game. I'm going to say a word and I just want you to let me know the first thing that comes to mind. The first one is youth.
Greta Thunberg.
Freedom.
South Africa.
Sustainability.
Ooh. A whale.
Debate.
Me.
Democracy.
A ballot box.
Advocacy.
A megaphone.
JP.
This place over here.
Mighty black and white. And then the last one is motivation. What is it that motivates you?
People.
Beautiful. Well, that was lovely. That was really, really good. We're going to move into the longer format questions here. So the first one I have for you is just speak to me and describe to me the importance of debating. And how has debating played a role in making you the person you are today?
Well, firstly, Chad, thank you so much for having me. I'm a fan. I'm
Pleasure's mine.
subscribed.
Lovely.
I love this podcast. You know, debating is one of those cultural activities that when I have children, I'm going to make them do it, because it sort of teaches you to be comfortable with your own ideas, and you sort of have to have that confidence to stand in front of a room of people and speak about a topic, and it helps you to sort of view things from other people's perspective, you know. Prior to debating, believe it or not, I was shy. I didn't like talking in a big room of people. I had a very low voice. And so it taught me like how to carry myself with a presence and to be comfortable in a room of people, and to also see things from other people's perspectives, because, you know, it's a problem we have just in society generally, you know. It's my position, this is where I'm planting myself, I'm rooting myself like a tree, and where you are, that we're not going to move an inch to one another. Debating teaches you to listen to ideas, to critically evaluate ideas, and to really say, okay, I disagree with it, but I understand the merit of the argument, and 100%. You and I can walk away from this conversation being civil.
How would you explain the importance of debating with regards to today's disparities in terms of ideas, where we don't have this ability to share and to express and to understand? I think we get into debate in today's world to shame and to make sure that our voice is heard and that our argument is heard, but we tend to never leave with a mutual understanding. So what are some of your pointers to someone watching this today, and just emphasizing this idea of sharing your ideas while growing in yourself?
I'd say first, when you want to debate or talk to someone, do it face to face. One of the problems I have is that people love to debate on Twitter or X, or whatever you call it. And I heard it somewhere on a podcast, and now I like to say it, is that you're arguing with people who don't have data. They don't have data. Most of the arguments on social media that people debate are just so surface level. There's no willingness to empathize with the other person.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing you need to do. You must realize when you're talking about something serious, or something that you disagree with a person on, a matter you disagree with a person on, it's important to understand that you're talking to someone who has taken that position because of a context. There's a whole set of things that have happened before that moment that has led the person to take that position.
Yeah.
So you, as someone going into that conversation, you mustn't go in it to win. I think that's a very bad way of starting a conversation, starting any type of debate. I think you must go into it with just the objective of saying, by the end of this, you and I must at least be able to say, I heard where you came from, you heard where I came from, and in conclusion, we respect each other.
Yeah.
We might not agree with each other, but we respect each other. And that's the whole idea around just having debates. It's testing each other's ideas and walking away civil.
100%. Would you say that debating taught you that the world is not so black and white?
It did. There's so many nuances that I learned about the world. I mean, I got there and I thought, everything's the way I see it, and anyone who disagrees is wrong. I think I'm glad that it changed me that way, because in the work that I do in climate, in the work that I do in politics, you need to understand that nothing is the way it seems. One of the things my lecturer said it the other day, he said that there's no such thing as an absolute fact. There's no such thing as an absolute fact in the world. And debating taught me that I must view everything from the perspective that there's no absolute facts.
Beautiful. Moving into one of your other passions, advocacy. I want to know, what is the story of you getting into advocacy, and how do you have such a passion for it?
So it starts with my family, as I think it does for so many people. My family was part of the liberation struggle. My grandfather was a freedom fighter. He spent the majority of his adult life either in jail or in exile. My mother spent the majority of her childhood in exile, like the entirety of it, up until she ended her undergrad. So my family's experience there it made me have a view of the world that we are not in this alone, but we have a collective responsibility to be there for one another. I like to say it inculcated in me this sense of, you don't exist just to serve your own interests. You exist to help move the lot forward. And so I think in a family like mine, if I didn't do anything, I'd be that awkward conversation topic at Christmas. But, so it was sort of like something that you're expected to do. And then I fell into it, and then I completely just fell in love with the idea of just helping to make things better, I always say it this way: when you have millions of people around the world who are just struggling and suffering and, in just the most desperate situations, they're just waiting for someone to show up and make something good happen. And that's the way I view my advocacy. I want to make something good happen.
Moving into Fridays for Future South Africa, give me some insights on this campaign and how it started and how it's currently going.
Okay, so Fridays for Future was a climate organization. It really started as like a little movement. It started with Greta Thunberg, the face of climate change, as she was called, in Sweden. And she used to sort of bunk school on Fridays to go strike outside the parliament in Sweden to say, listen, we need to take a stronger stance on climate. We need to respond faster. This is a big problem, and we're going to feel it. The whole world's going to feel it, so we must do something. And that movement started gaining more and more people, and then eventually it was formalized under the name Fridays for Future. So it started in Sweden, and then around 2016, it came to South Africa, died off for a bit, and then in 2021, I and a friend of mine, Yashila, decided to relaunch Fridays for Future South Africa. And we primarily just try to organize people who want to do something about climate. So you want to talk about policy, you want to talk about what's happening on a community in Nyanga or Sasolburg where like the air quality is so bad that people are literally sending away their children to live with relatives because they're getting sick, they're getting tuberculosis and all types of illnesses. It's a space for us to have that conversation and then say, okay, so what should we do about it now? Yeah.
Lovely. Looking at you being the executive director of So We Vote, which is another one of your organizations, it's quite a list. You weren't joking about this advocacy goal. But I just want to know, you obviously have perhaps a better insight into politics than most, because you understand the role of the vote and what it means in a democracy, and something that your family and many others have fought extremely hard for. What is your current view on the political climate in South Africa going into this GNU movement? How would you view South Africa's democracy at the moment? Brace yourself.
I'm going to try not to get myself into trouble because I expressed my view on this once and I got a hell of a text message from someone from a party. I'll say this. South Africa, everyone before the election kept saying 2024 is going to be the crisis year.
Yes.
And I kept saying before the election, 2024 is not the crisis. 2029 is the crisis.
Okay.
Because 2024, I could already see how it was going to play out. In fact, I'm on record. So if you ever want to see me on record, go to the Mail and Guardian interview I gave before the elections. It was always going to be a coalition government. One, because Cyril Ramaphosa, love him or hate him, 60% of the people that voted in the election that were going to vote ANC voted because of him. Yeah. No, 72% of the people that voted ANC voted because of him as an individual. He's very popular in that demographic. So he was always going to carry the ANC to being the largest party in parliament, not necessarily the majority. But now with the GNU, we have a landscape that's, in my prediction, is going to change. We're going to have parties like the DA, Rise Mzansi, Good Party, Patriotic Alliance, IFP. I'm very happy that I could actually list them on Stump. Those types of parties have, apart from the DA, have not had government experience. The DA's had only in provinces and cities. Now that they're in a national government, come 2029, the landscape's going to change because the ANC can no longer campaign on its own and say, listen, we're the only ones experienced enough to lead a national government. Now the DA can come and say, wait, but we have a Minister of Education, Minister of Agriculture, we have Minister of Trade, Minister of Environment, we have all of these different cabinet portfolios. Yeah. We know how to lead from the executive. We've sat with the president. We've been in cabinet meetings, so we know how to run a country. And that's one of the arguments the ANC has used that has been very persuasive. Now it's gone. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the GNU is going to change the way people view government. I mean, we're now over 100 days. The markets are performing well. The Reserve Bank has cut rates. People are going to start feeling good. But they're not going to associate that feeling good with the ANC. They're going to associate it with the other GNU partners.
100%.
And so by 2029, I say there's going to be a crisis because I know gut feeling, and it's very hard to say this because my family very much part and parcel of the ANC. The ANC is going to continue to drop. It's going to lose its most persuasive character, which is President Ramaphosa, because this is his last term as ANC president and as president of the country. Yeah. And the people lined up to replace him don't really have a very strong enough record to carry the party either back to 50-something% or to keep it where it is. So it's going to be a crisis because it's going to go lower, but the other parties aren't going to increase by enough to form a government on their own. And then it's going to be a crisis because I don't think many of them are going to want to go back to a GNU with the ANC. And the ANC is going to be weaker, so they'll actually be looking for stronger power within cabinet. It's going to be a fight. And I predict the way it was 28 days in June before we could form a government in South Africa after the elections, we might have a situation where we end up, as per what the Constitution says, needing to either go for another election because no one can actually form a government in parliament in the set time. They have to elect a president, then the president has to form a cabinet. or we'll have a minority government. Either way, we could have so many different things happen in 2029 that I really predict it could be the turning point in politics for South Africa. But for the next 5 years, we'll be all right.
To ask you, we spoke about democracy in our opening questions, and you were obviously listed as one of the young Mandelas by News 24. What would you say Nelson Mandela, what obviously you can't speak for him, but what do you imagine he would be saying looking at a party or a government like the GNU that we've had in this last election? Do you think he would be proud of it? Do you think he'd be worried about what the ANC has done? Do you think he would find a sense of pride in the fact that we are ultimately representing a democracy to the highest degree?
I think, Tata was someone who liked to unite the country. That was Madiba's main thing. And he himself had a GNU when he first came to government to be president. It was a GNU with F.W. de Klerk and the National Party. The state of the country, I do think I don't think he'd be very happy. I think it would depress him, But I do think that he'd love the spirit of the GNU. He'd love the idea of putting politics aside and saying, listen, the country must come first now. Because I think before the election, certainly things weren't going that well, and, the way you and I and most South Africans felt about the state of politics in the country, he would have shared it just with a bit more of a gut punch. Because it's what he gave the majority of his life for.
100%, yeah.
And so, he'd be happy with the GNU. He'd be, from what I hear, people that have worked with him, he'd be calling every minister in the morning saying, what have you done today? What do you plan on doing today? And I want a status report. But I think he'd be very pleased with the progress we've made, because it shows we're a mature democracy.
Yeah. So you're obviously the executive director of So We Vote. When I ran his marathons, I ran with a guy, his name was Keith Boyd. He was running from Cape Town to Cairo, and he has an organization known as Rainbow Runners.
Yeah.
So, to run 12,000 Ks, you need to have a strong motivation. But his motivation, believe it or not, was to encourage the youth to vote. Like, he truly felt in his heart that this run through Africa was a message for Africa's youth to ignite passion in voting and what that ability actually means. So I want to ask you, in a similar tone, what would you say is your one message to the youth of South Africa that are perhaps watching this? How would you encourage them to make that realization towards the importance of their vote?
Ultimately, this country belongs to you and I. And as young people, we're going to be living in this country for much longer than people who are our parents' age. They're already established. Yeah. They have homes, they have pensions, they have jobs. They're not going to take a lot of risks. But when it comes to democracy and the future of this country, you and I, it's literally an end-all and be-all game for us, because we have more to gain but more to lose.
100%.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. For our generation, the one message that they must take is that this nation, this system, this democracy, it's yours.
Yeah.
You own it. And you're in the driver's seat. I don't think young people realize, if we all voted one way this year, it's been a long year. Years are months for me now. Had we all voted one way for one party, it would have been the second largest party in the entire country.
Jeez.
So the idea that young people have no power to shape politics, it's wrong. We have the power. We have control. We just need to be willing to take it with both hands.
Yeah.
And, the problem that I see with many people in our generation, I've been very diplomatic there.
PC.
Because I need them to follow So We Vote after this.
100%. The plug will be in the description.
The challenge I have is that there's this idea that we're powerless.
Yeah.
We should just go in whatever direction the wind is blowing, because it's not really our responsibility anymore. We've done everything we could. We went to school, we played by the rules, we got our matric, some of us went to university, we got that degree, yet nothing's working out. But in spite of all of that, each generation has its challenges.
Yeah, 100%.
It's how each generation responds to those challenges. And I think that the potential for us to respond to all of the challenges that South Africa faces right now is enormous. I mean, think about this. With one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, there's so many people with energy, with just passion. They're ready to put it to use.
Yeah.
What can we as young people, if we collaborate, what can we do? What can we make that'll be worthwhile? And I'll end with this. It's a quote that I love. It's by Robert Francis Kennedy, the late Senator Robert Francis Kennedy. It goes, "This world demands the qualities of youth, not just a time of life, but a state of mind, a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, the appetite for adventure over just the love of ease." And I love that quote because it's exactly what South Africa needs.
So you speak about this youth, right? That is so important in promoting change, much needed change. What would you say it is that youth gives one? Is it fearlessness? Is it courage? What is it that youth has that people perhaps in their 30s or 40s don't have? What is it in your mind?
It's the ability to look at the world as it is and choose to build a different one. The only way I can describe it, it's the ability to look at the box, but then just say, I don't like what's in the box. I'm going to think outside of it. I'm going to paint outside of the frame. I think that's one of the things that in the world we live in with AI and all of these new things emerging, that ability to just think outside of the box and to be fearless and adventurous, that's what we need.
100%.
Because just think about if no one was fearless and no one was adventurous, we wouldn't know anything.
100%.
Everything is scary.
Yeah.
But you just take the steps and you do it. I can guarantee you we can get so much further, so much further. Yeah.
I think a big shift for me in terms of realizing what it means to be mature yet youthful in a weird way was I was in one of my lectures and the whole debate was around South Africa and our economy and how things are not the way they should be and the usual story.
Yeah.
But then someone put their hand up in the lecture and actually stood up and said, yeah, but where there are problems, there are opportunities to solve them. And I'll never forget that moment. And that was a shift in my mindset that, yes, you can complain about it, but now you're of an age where you can actually start implementing solutions.
Yes.
And I think the greatest solution that anyone can implement within our youth is casting a vote.
Exactly what you're saying. It's very easy to offer problems. But we're in a position where if you offer the problem, you also offer the solution. But the vote is it's very strange. People tend to underestimate it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happens. South Africa falls into a category. Political scientists call it a electoral democracy. It means that we have some bits of democracy. You vote and your vote is majority of the time reflected. But in some cases, there's some things that are suspicious and maybe democracy doesn't always thrive. Within the context of the rest of Africa, let me put it to you this way. We're a little blue dot in a sea of red. That red being countries where there's just no democracy at all.
100%.
We have the freedom to talk about our problems. Because of that, when we talk about this country and when we talk about its problems, your ability to vote is your ability to say, yes, I see the problems of this country and I see where we're headed, but I am choosing to go in a different direction. The way I say it is bestride history in half, casting South Africa towards greatness rather than destruction. And you have that power. So many people have it. You all have it.
Yeah.
But just understand that capacity to make something great happen, which a lot of people don't actually. I think a lot of people don't think that they have that power, and that's the saddest part of all.
Hopefully this is the realization that they need. When I was reviewing the questions last night, one of the questions that really I was excited to ask you, because you have a very insightful mind. What in your mind, right, is going to be the greatest problem that our generation face?
Oh, hands down, artificial intelligence.
Really? I really thought you were going to say the climate change. And
Climate change is coming, but the thing is, climate change can only be stopped within depending on the science, 6 to 7. Other science recommendations, 15 to 17 years. Because you look at the other stuff, it tells you we've already passed the point of no return. But it's going to be AI. Because one, its ability to do jobs that you and I and most people are actually going to go for.
100%.
It can replace us. The amount of fake news and disinformation it can put out there that we will believe because it looks so real and convincing. It has the ability to make reality look distorted. And when that happens, what's fact anymore? What's truth? What is something that I can listen to or see and believe? What is a job I can do that it can't do better than I? Because you must remember it this way. AI systems do something, and if they fail, they learned what they did wrong
100%.
faster than a human would. And then they do it again, and they can do it faster and repetitively without sleeping, without eating, without wanting a wage, without wanting a salary. So AI is going to be, hands down, one of the biggest challenges we're going to face, our generation. And we also don't know how to regulate it. Like, how do you regulate ChatGPT when most of the members of parliament don't even know what it is?
Would you say we don't know how to regulate it because there is no way to regulate it, or because we neglect what the power of AI is?
We neglect it because we don't understand it. I'd say that's one of the
Would you
biggest
say it's
problems.
because of the people, the decision makers, perhaps lack that technological understanding, whereas we were born into it and we can see how things evolve, and we can not just see it, but we can grow with it? Do you think that's one of the problems, that the people who are making the decisions are not of this youth that we speak about, and they don't truly understand? Because technology is just constantly evolving. Like the other day I saw that AI is now generating videos to such a degree. Like, I don't think we actually understand the dangers in that you can generate something through different mediums that is completely false. How are we going to differentiate between, like you said?
If we took a photo of you and I talking now, in a few years, or maybe a few months even, we don't know how the scale of this technology is, but in a few months, an AI could literally have this conversation that you and I are having.
Like, you're going to be super famous one day with all your organizations, high in politics. There's going to be so much data on you that could I say in the ChatGPT system, produce a podcast with me and you don't even have to be in the room. You don't even have to know anything.
I don't even need to know your name, but there's a video of me. But I'll say this. An element of it does exist in their ability to use technology. I mean, let's be honest. We saw during Zoom, Parliament during Zoom, there were people that were talking, saying other things about people that were speaking. The things that were on the camera.
Much unlike Parliament, not in Zoom, but...
but like, we were seeing... being tech savvy will help. Yes. I don't think it's the entire ball game.
100%.
I think they need the problem with politicians. I think they need to put their egos aside. Not just politicians, but just people generally. You need to put your ego aside, and you need to listen to the people that know the facts. There was a book I read. I can't remember the name of this book, and I wish I remembered it. But there's a book I read 2018 about the development of AI and where it was going. Now, this was 2018. I didn't understand half of it, but now I'm actually going and I'm reviewing that book and I'm like, everything it predicted is happening. Now, the challenge with legislating or regulating AI is, how do you control something that can be free use tech? Someone just develops the code and then sends it like across the world. And the way people use it, I mean, it's just like Twitter bots. Twitter bots can be regulated, but how are you going to tell you're talking to a person or you're talking to a bot? Like, there's these huge cyber farms in China.
And I think we'd be blown away if we knew the demographic of bots to actual users. I think that I think if you think about it on a deeper way, that is a way that you can manipulate. Because I mean, if you are sending bots to certain videos and to certain topics of conversation, you're generating obviously exposure, and that's then going to be the main focus of conversation. And I think that is a way that we've been manipulated in a sense by the media through these bot farms that most people don't even know exist. Bot farm. I think you're playing.
Just go on TikTok and see how many thousand Dylan Page TikTok accounts there are. It's like
it's insane. 100%. And they're all commenting this. I even saw.
And now they're AI powered.
Yeah, I even saw during a presidential. There was a presidential debate in the US that I watched, the latest one, and there was this thing that said, "I can't believe I've earned so much money through this strategy." And I was like, "Wow, let me click on that." And it was just bots having conversations, trying to sell you this. It was scary to me, because I was thinking about someone like, not to throw people under the bus, but like my mom. Like, maybe she sees that and she's like, wow, I can generate, let me give details. And it's a very, very slippery slope. And I couldn't agree more with your answer. I think there's many, many challenges that we're going to face as a generation. But I think AI is
It's head above them.
100%. 100%. And I think another thing is we're being implemented in a new world with an old system.
Yeah.
We're getting taught degrees, we're getting taught things in our tutor kids, and I've noticed, like, what's scary to me is kids are losing their ability to creative write and to critically think and to form arguments, like you said. And it's like, oh, jeez, this
Where's
is
the
not
world
good.
headed?
This is not good. That's why we need the cross, boss.
man.
We need the cross.
Yo.
During one of your prior interviews, you mentioned something that I found quite fascinating. You said we need a transition with regards to energy. We need a transition that uplifts the poor and the disenfranchised. What are some of the key steps that you envision when looking at this process of moving from sustainable energy, or from less sustainable to more sustainable energy?
First, I must start by saying we know that this transition is going to make a lot of people lose jobs. There are over 100,000 people that are coal miners in Mpumalanga right now that, should the transition happen overnight, they're just no jobs, done, gone. But at the same time, those jobs are dying off anyway. I mean, look at the people that were hired to be coal miners in, let me go 10 years back, 2014 versus now. We're losing in the coal industry approximately 100 jobs every month. That industry is slowly dying off.
And that's 100 families, because most of these are breadwinners.
All of them, if not exclusively breadwinners. Now, the transition needs to uplift the poor because, one, I mean, I think we can see it in South Africa. You can't have a system with as many poor, unemployed, economically not active people. Because when you uplift someone, you give them economic power, give them the ability to own something in the economy. They have a greater interest in keeping the system alive, in 100%. Keeping the system thriving. So the transition must happen in a way where we uplift poor people because, one, ethically, we can't keep people there. But two, on a level of just being practical, we need people to be uplifted out of poverty for us to continue to have a harmonious society. Very few changes there, but huge difference in meaning.
100%, yeah.
But then on a third level, we need to do it that way because I think fundamentally, if the transition doesn't happen in a manner where we uplift the poor, where we uplift the disenfranchised, we're going to have a problem in a few years' time where we're going to see coup after coup after coup after, just on a democracy level, coup after coup after coup after coup after coup. Because what are you going to tell someone who's fourth generation poor living in a shack in Alexandra?
100%.
To them, what do they own? What do they own?
I completely agree with you. I was actually reading an article the other day about one of my friends works for Amazon, which has just come into, and one of their key strategies is how they're giving ownership in the form of equity to their employees, and how this promotes them because they feel that they are part of the company, and their effort is going to be shown within a higher share price, and they're going to obviously see dividends and 100%. And I completely resonate with what you're trying to say in terms of our country. We need people that are actually feeding into an economy that feeds it back. And
the reason the transition is such a good vehicle, the president said that South Africa needs $98 billion to implement this transition. That's over 100
and is this to solar
yeah,
and
so it's across everything. So it's infrastructure. So it's the way we transmit electricity, like so those big pylons that people see on the freeway. It's the way we generate. It's the way we keep water warm in our house. So the geyser systems, the piping networks. And then it's the electricity around solar, wind, hydro, nuclear, whichever sustainable form. It's a huge project, many trillions of rands. That is the best vehicle to inject fresh capital, fresh investment into the South African economy. And whilst you're injecting that investment into the economy to do all of this, you're prioritizing the people who need money to build a good life. You're giving them the opportunities. It's like Roosevelt's New Deal in America during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
You give people jobs, you give them an honest living, you help employ them to do a job. They're building the country. They might not see it, they're doing roads, they're doing pipe, they're building pylons, they're doing all of the things that we need, the basic infrastructure to build a country. They're doing all of that. They don't see it as that. They see it as a job.
100%.
You've given them ownership, and then they have a good country to live in by the end of it. Because where else are we going to get $98 billion in like one big to implement something like that?
Yeah.
It's a big project.
100%.
Untested.
I think there's two things that you said that stick out for me. The first one is that a good economy lives or dies with their middle class. And I think that's South Africa's biggest problem now. We don't have that middle class. We have very poor, we have very rich, and then we have something kind of in between. But we don't really have that middle class. The second thing is we can't, when looking for investment, start to give ownership to our country, to other countries, due to what they are injecting into the economy. And I think that's a big worry as well, you know, like Chinese investments and whatever else is coming in. We've seen that through Africa, where they've now almost gained ownership of Africa and land within Africa as a result of their injection into the economy. But fascinating. That's fascinating. Let me ask you this. Do you think South Africa, this is a very, we spoke about some darker topics, this is more of an uplifting one. It's a two-parter. Do you think South Africa will ever make that transition to a first world country? And if so, when?
Oh, firstly, like I said, of course, we'll make it. I'll tell you why I believe that, and then I'll give you the date. Well, I can't give you the date, but I can give you what I think the date will be. Yes, we will do it. Because you look at the way South Africa's been investing in terms of its human capital and in terms of the type of new investment that the government is beginning to make. One of the biggest challenges which has led to the problem that you're seeing of people not being able to read or comprehend, it's that we don't have proper early childhood development. Now the government is embarking on a big project, a big program now around early childhood development. Meaning we're going to, I think they're called Gen Alpha. This new younger generation now that's coming. I'm feeling old.
The nutty ones.
The Z's are gone. The Z's were old news. They are going to have access to more knowledge, capabilities and opportunities, which through early childhood development, which is going to make them better at school. Added to that, hopefully, the integration of automation and AI, the thing I was telling you that's very scary, the opportunity that offers in terms of education, to build the capability of young people, school-going children, to read for understanding and to be able to comprehend and to be able to think analytically and critically. That trend is going to start changing because the government is making a huge investment in that area, and I'm confident we will see positive returns there.
And that is also a massive part of being like a debater, like you were saying, because you need to form your own arguments by reading other arguments and then saying, I don't believe this, I do believe this.
Yes.
Anyway, continue.
And being a problem solver.
100%.
That is going to be a huge component that employers are going to be looking for in the future, because a problem solver in Singapore versus a problem solver here. Singapore has invested hugely in education. That's why they're such a coveted country in that part of the world. So early childhood development gives me enormous hope. Government is going to make great strides in that area. The second thing, artificial intelligence, it's going to supercharge our ability to compete globally. Because where there was a skills deficit or a skills gap, industry that's able to, on a commercial level, take advantage of AI tech, they are going to be able now to compete. Investec is going to be able to compete with Goldman Sachs in New York.
I get what you're saying.
And the investment decisions there are going to help make our economy stronger. It's going to help build up South African private industry, corporates. We just need to make sure that people are a part of that. So as an economy, we are going to make it there. The third area, speculative, that's BRICS. BRICS is going to be a huge opportunity for us. Changing global order, the opportunity for new trade. It's a controversial take. We're going to be the America of Africa. We sort of are.
But we already
we're going
to some degree.
To some degree, but we're going to supercharge that. We're going to gain the ground that we've lost. And then the fourth and final area, governance. The GNU, for all of its criticisms and whatever, it's going to usher in probably a time where South Africans are going to be thinking more critically about who they vote for, how they elect leaders, especially in an environment where people aren't going to be getting a lot of jobs. I think that especially people that would qualify as the middle class, the conversation is going to get a lot tougher. And so there's going to be better quality of leadership that's going to emerge there. I always say, So We Vote isn't a 2024 class project. We're starting now because we see in 29 there's going to be an enhanced need for us. And so we have 5 years to get better.
Wow.
5 years better at what we do. We always need to think ahead. That's how we avoid challenges. And so when will we break into that first world nation category? I think around the 2050s, 2060s, because I'll be very honest. Development takes time. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of understanding, takes the right people to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I'm going to contribute. It takes learning how to fit pieces together. It's going to take a very long time. We'll need our people to be patient. And I think our people will be patient because they have no other choice. There's no place on God's green earth like this country. Yeah. There's no other place I'd rather be. I say it all the time in interviews, and I'm sure you've heard it. Yeah. I was born in this country. I'll live all of my life in this country. I'll have a family in this country. And someday when the Lord calls me, my remains will be buried in this country for all of eternity. And that's my love for this country. Yeah. And I believe we can make it. I mean, we've gone through so much. Why wouldn't we? The people who are leaving, you know,
there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But you can take the person out of South Africa. You can't take South Africa out of the person. You can go anywhere in the world, and I love that. So many people I talk to, they travel anywhere in the world, anywhere, and you can go to Alaska, Canada, you can go to Namibia, you can go to Portugal, you can go to Australia, New Zealand, Britain, France. Meeting a South African, you can almost see it when you lock eyes. There's something about home there, and those people don't leave because they want to. They leave because they feel it's needed. Yeah. Now, when we turn the tide, I can bet you. Now, I'm not a rich man, but hopefully I'll be a rich man then. I will bet you R1,000,000. When we turn the tide, those people will come back in droves. And they will come back with new skill, new insight, new networks, having worked all over the world. And that's another reason why I think we'll become a world-class country, because when the tide starts to turn and they come, it'll supercharge our growth. So I've never been pessimistic about this country's outlook. I just think those people, I never write them off because I'm like, let them go. They'll come back. They will always come back and 100%. Will benefit from it.
And it's true, because the first thing you say to someone who's perhaps not happy in another country, I'm sure the number one concern is the people.
Yeah.
And I think we don't understand how blessed we are in that sense. If you could have dinner with anyone in history, one person, dead or alive, who would that person be, and what would be the topic of conversation?
So there's so many people. I'm not going to say the living ones because I have this very crazy view that I'm going to meet all of the living people that I want to meet in my life. Yeah, I just have that feeling.
Greta being one of them.
Yeah, we'll see. There's more people in climate who are very bad. Greta definitely top of mind just because of what she built. But I came to the conclusion it needs to be a hybrid of just two people. One is Lee Kuan Yew, the founding Prime Minister of Singapore. I was reading, I'm actually still reading his autobiography from Third World to First, the Singapore story. He took a country that was literally rice paddies. He liked to say that if I threw you out of an airplane flying over Singapore in the 50s, you'd have rice paddy fields to break your fall. At the time he said it was the 1990s. He said, I throw you out of an airplane today. Kaput! It's concrete. We took a nation that was rice paddies, we turned it into a modern city. He said 30 years from now it will be a first world metropolis. He made it. I'd want to pick his brain about the South African syndrome, the problem of our country. How do we take a country of plus minus 64 million people, 48, 42 million adults, depending on the stats you look at. How do we make something like this work? How do we put people to work in a way that the first generation we work with, majority of them aren't probably going to feel the most output, but they must be in it for their kids, that their kids would benefit. So Lee Kuan Yew did that for Singapore. Like, it's a generational thing. And I'd want to pick his brain. How did you do it? How did you do it? I'm reading his book, I'm seeing how he's doing it, but I still want to have a conversation. How did you do it? So that's the first hybrid. Second hybrid would have to be Madiba. Because I think maybe it's because we had him for so long, we don't realize what we actually had. We had him. We need someone who can talk to all of the people of South Africa and can relate to them on a personal level and can sort of instinctually feel where every person's coming from and respond to them in a way that I'm not talking to an Indian South African, I'm not talking to a white South African, I'm not talking to a black, I'm talking to a South African.
And someone you respect.
Yeah, and someone you respect. And someone, and so I'd want to pick his brain out. Madiba, how do we reunite the country? Because he did a lot of great work in the 90s and in the 2000s to really unite this country. I mean, maybe I get criticized. Some people say I have a nostalgic view of the 90s and 2000s. I wasn't alive in the 90s. I was like something years old in the 2000s. Single digits. I wasn't yet double barrel. But we had a lot going for us in terms of one national body, and we still have it. You know, the Madiba spirit has sprinkled over the box. That's like the uniting force in the country.
100%.
But in summary, I'd want to talk to Lee Kuan Yew around economically. How do we build a country? How do we uplift South Africa? How do we make our third world to first journey faster, better, stronger? And I'll talk to Madiba. Whilst the economy is happening socially, how do we make South Africa a nation of just one people, not different races, just one national identity where we think of each other because of where we were born?
100%. And I think looking at those two people, something that they have in common is this ability to emphasize this idea that you're going to plant a tree that isn't necessarily going to provide you shade. It's for the future generations. And I think if it's a skill, because you have to get people on board with what you're trying to accomplish. Lovely answer.
Sorry, I give very long answers.
You said like it's a bad thing. Jeez, you have us all engaged in your answers. What is a goal that you are personally looking to achieve? In the short term, let's say the next 3 months, medium term, the next year, long term, the next 5 years.
So my problem is that like I have, it's a good problem, but it's a bad problem. I am delusional about what I think I can achieve.
That's a beautiful problem.
I'll say this, short term, a realistic goal. I just want to get through this academic year. It's my first year. It's been hell. I just want to get through the academic year. That's my short-term goal. Just get through the year. We have a few months left. I have a few exams left. Once I'm through, I'll be living on cloud nine, man. Cute December. It'll be December. Medium-term goal. It's really a professional goal. I want to try get 6 million young people registered to vote. That's over the next 2-3 years.
Sure.
6 million young people registered to vote. That's the first thing. Just get 6 million young people registered to vote, because that will sway the election. Any election, it'll sway it, and I will be so. I am telling you. I think I'll go for pension then. But long-term goal. I've been thinking about this since you sent the questions. There's just too many. But I think I'll say this. To live the highest, truest expression of myself. Professionally, personally, in every way. That is, if by the time I'm 90-something, and it's my time to go.
And we're chilling with the robots.
Yeah, I'm chilling with the robot nurse saying, why is this jello red? I want to be able to, during those like last few days, just know that I left the glass empty. I did everything I wanted to do. I fulfilled what I fully wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And it guides me every day.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so every day is just one footstep closer to it. I need to look at it as one footstep closer to it. Otherwise, I'll skip a lot of things. Because Ferris Bueller said, the movie from the 80s, it's like, life goes pretty fast. And if you don't take a step and look around every now and again, you'll miss it. And 100%. So I have one eye on the long term, but sort of like a little eye on the everyday stuff. Friends, family, experiences, doing stuff like this, and enjoying it, enjoying the ability to just talk and be here and breathe and live.
Lovely. What are you currently studying and why?
I'm studying a Bachelor of Commerce in Law. Short answer, I couldn't make up my mind. I wanted to do something commerce related, and I also really love law because I love arguing, and you can hear I can talk till we hit Timbuktu. So I'm studying a BCom law because it's both the commerce side and the law side, and so I couldn't decide what field specifically I'm going to go into. So it's a 3-year degree. I have 3 years to make up my mind before in my honors postgrad I have to choose. But it's a good degree, and I'm loving it. It's everything about it is just incredible because, one, I get to engage with very interesting people. I get to talk about the economic syndromes. My economic lecturer, she hates it when I raise my hand in class because I'm that person that's like,
yeah,
but
we go
if
again.
we implemented the African peer review mechanism, this deficit wouldn't. And she's like, Otsile, sit down. Sit down and let the others talk. Let's learn for. So yeah, I'm loving the degree. I'm loving my modules, and I guess I'm enjoying life.
Sure, lovely.
Yeah.
Would there ever be a streamline into politics? Is that something that you want to go into? Be honest here.
I get that question all the time, and cognizant that this is on the record. Okay, yeah, I'll be honest. It's something that I've been exploring more and more just because of how many people have really said that I should go into it. Be of no illusion, business was always my first love. Ironically, and people get a kick out of this in the climate space, you asked me what I wanted to be when I was in grade 6, and I told you I wanted to be the CEO of BP, Shell, Engine, all of the big oil companies. I said, I want to own the biggest oil company in the world. I'll own those huge tankers that go from the Gulf to the East. And then someone was like, and now looking back, I'm like, maybe not the oil business.
Yeah.
But I do love business.
Yeah.
And so there will be, business is definitely in there for me. It's in the cards. Politics, I'm exploring it more and more. I have membership to a party that I will not name because I need the legitimacy of being able to talk to all people.
100%.
But should the party that I'm a member of say you should go, obviously I'll have to respond to what they say. But for now, my cards are really invested in business, and I like it. It's very nice. Business is very nice.
It is.
You get paid very well.
But I think, politics to some degree is like running a business. It's a country, But looking back at the link that we've made, so obviously I was introduced to you through the Black and White through JP. We have a JBA podcast where we tend to interview the old boys, and we always end off with the same question. It's simple but profound. What is the greatest lesson that JP taught you?
Oh, brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's a bit cliche, because I think that's the first answer most people would give. But
100%.
I don't think people understand what you mean by that. You arrive in this world alone, and you leave alone. And in between, you meet so many people. Now, the opportunity to actually go to a place where you're able to meet people who, one, connect with you on a personal level, but beyond that, you're able to feed into one another. Like, your growth and development was just as much a part of mine. That was my experience at JEPI. I have a friend right now who, Lucas Silva, same matric class as I am. It's literally same class. The entire matric, we had all the same classes, or everything.
G class.
Yeah. We're the best of friends.
Yeah.
Still now.
Yeah.
Still connected on the same level. And it's him and all, I can't name all of them now, but a lot of friends from JP, and that sense of brotherhood, it inculcated in me this idea that as I go throughout life, I should still strive to make that type of a close personal connection to people. And I should also try and feed into people, the expression being, fill my cup till I runneth over. And when you runneth over into so other people's cups.
Yeah.
And the school just taught me that, you were never alone. You never felt like you never belonged. I mean, we're a big rugby hockey school. I was the kid that did debating and public speaking, occasionally cross country, and I wasn't good at that. So you'd expect the two to be diametrically opposed, like a kid great at culturals but really bad at sports at a school like JP. But no, the space was always there, and people never made me feel like I didn't belong. And very few people get that high school experience, and so
That allows you to express yourself, like
Yeah.
you said, to the fullest.
and that's how I,
Yeah.
for good or for bad.
For good.
People want to
for good.
blame me. Good Hope Street in Kensington. That's where you go blame.
But our first interview on the JBA was Mr. Jackson, and he said something to me that really enlightened me at the time. He said that obviously the Theo Jackson Scholarship,
Yeah.
it's the largest single school all-boys scholarship. It's massive, and what he's been able to accomplish is fantastic. But he said to all the old boys, his message was, Jeppe is an image of what South Africa could be. And I really stuck. That really got to me, because I realized the impact that a school like Jeppe, and there's tons of Jeppes out there, Cares, St. John's, wherever. But they actually, when you walk around those campuses and you see diversity, hope, strength, courage, all ignited in a blazer, you're like, wow, this actually is how we can progress to things like becoming a first world country. And it starts at these institutions that many overlook.
And the best type of society. Because when you were wearing this blazer, you didn't care that someone came from Khayelitsha or Alex, or someone came from Hyde Park or Sandton.
Someone is here at Sandton, someone's there Soweto, and you're writing the same exam. And there's no like judgment there's nothing. It's hard to describe, because it feels like this fantastical world. But it really did exist.
It did exist, and that's what's jarring when you leave Jeppe and you see the way the world treats, and it's like, so I agree with Mr. Jackson there.
Moving into the back end, we tend to end off with 5 questions with every guest, and I think you can gauge a lot from a person from these 5 answers. The first thing is, what has been your greatest achievement thus far in your life? Obviously a young life, but much achievement is filled within those 18, 19, 20 years. So what has been your greatest achievement, and why did it mean so much to you?
Cynically, but it would have been being captain of the debating society at Jeppe. Because that's where this all started. Grade 8, I joined debating because they talked about Model UN. Model UN then introduced me to climate. Climate then introduced me to politics. Politics then pretty much creates this whole advocacy thing. But the debating society was my home within my home at Jeppe. And being captain was just incredible. And I loved it, and I loved every minute of it. That's why I was captain grade 11 and matric, so I got 2 experiences of it.
Snowflakes.
So I'm lucky I got to get 2 servings, and it was incredible. So thus far, I'd say that was my greatest achievement. I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
I can highly relate to that, because I knew you from public speaking as well, and I had like Tando Mjako, my friend, he introduced me to public speaking, and I ended up really fully embracing it as a culture, and it really impacted who I became as a person. And I think looking back, another thing about Jeppe, going back to Jeppe, but it's the truth.
It's the arc of the universe.
It is what it is, black and white. But I think what it does is, and I think you can relate to this, is that the people that you go to school with, they actually show you what's possible through their own achievement. And I think you're doing that for many. So it's fantastic. What has been a low moment? And I don't ask it so much for you, because you obviously overcame it, but unless you're currently going through it, in which case we'll contact help if you need, just let us know. But the reason why I ask it is because someone listening might be going through a similar situation. So what advice would you give to that person?
Low moment for me, 2016, Eastleigh Primary School. I failed a year and I had to repeat. It was an absolute gut punch. Grade 6. Everyone I was friends with went on to 7 and then they were gone. But it was a very tough time going into that year, parents separating, all of that. So it was like the whole world ended because your whole world is your school at that age. But overcoming it, I had to have a conversation with myself to say, listen, I can't believe I was saying this to myself at that age, but you're in charge here.
Yeah.
Are you going to be a nosy pedestrian in your own life, or are you going to take control? Bad stuff's going to happen. It's how you respond is the entire game. Like everything that happens in your life is just responding. And so I repeated the year, did it, took it. And then grade 7, I became the head prefect at that very school.
After failing grade 6?
Yeah, after failing grade 6.
Wow.
Became the head prefect then. And yeah, went on to JP and then went on. I always go back to that moment because I'm like,
Wow.
the gut punch of being told, they called my mother to tell her that I failed. Being told at dinner that you didn't make it. That gut punch was just like something went on. The gears started moving, and then I started taking things as they came. Realized just need to respond correctly. I need to make sure that by the end of this life thing, I don't feel the way I feel right now. Well, how I felt back then. And so that was my lowest moment, overcame it, and I promised myself that I'll never go back to that feeling. And so life for me is just running away from that thing back there.
How much of success would you say is defined by adversity?
I have this thought that you can't have success without adversity.
I agree.
Because you have to persevere over something to succeed. You know, if life had no hurdles, you know, we'd all be billionaires living on our private islands with our jets and whatever. Yeah, like we'd all be living the perfect life. It's the adversity determines how you succeed. Your response to the adversity actually determines how you succeed.
100%.
You know, I'm one of those people. You hate to be with me if our team is losing, because I'm just that person. If like our loss, like it is going to happen. It is written in the stars. I am that person that is like, but who the hell are the stars to write this? Let's rewrite it. I just refuse.
Yeah.
And that's my response to adversity. Like when there's a wall in front of me, I'm like, well, if I can't go under it and I can't go over it and I can't go around it, I better hit it with some force because I'm going through it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I view success. You just need to persevere over your adversity. Otherwise, you don't have any success.
Beautiful. What is the greatest piece of advice you've ever received? And if you can remember, who was it that said it to you?
I've gotten, there's two. I'll go with the one that it wasn't told to me, but I heard it.
Tell us both.
Yeah. So the first one is from Ted Turner.
Yeah.
I don't think he said it, but he certainly says quite a lot of it. It's for you to achieve what you want to, you need three things. You need to be early to bed, you need to be early to rise, you need to work like hell and then advertise. That's everything that I do. I'm early to bed, though sometimes you'll get an email from me at like 3 in the morning if I remember something. Dafir, who's founded So We Vote With Me, he knows. The 3 a.m. emails are real. So I'm early to bed unless I'm sending those 3 a.m. emails. But then I'm early to rise because I have this sense that, I don't know, when you start your day earlier, there's a lot more ground you can cover. There's a lot more you feel you can get done. I used to, when I was at JP, I used to adopt a 5 to 9, but in reverse. Wake up 5, go to bed at 9. Partly because, like, you know, school routine's crazy there. Crazy. Most people will be able to handle it. But the early to rise came from that getting up early to get things done. And then the work like hell and advertise. The reality of life is that if you don't work hard, you're not going to get what you want. Now, working hard takes different forms. For some people, it was academic. For other people, it's outside of school stuff. They just work hard there. But you need to work hard to get what you want. And then you need to advertise, because if you don't advertise what you're doing, if you don't say, hey, this is what I've done, who's going to come to you and 100%. Say, job well done?
Especially in today's world.
In today's world, everyone, and don't be obnoxious about it. Don't get me wrong, don't be obnoxious about it. When you achieve something that's worth noting, tell people.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of lived by those three: early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, then advertise. And the second one, I think it was my grandfather. Well, I don't think. I know it was my grandfather, but I'm trying to remember when he said it to me. But it's about life. And it's about the fragility of life. And it's along the lines of, if you have no scars by the end, you will turn back and ask yourself, was there nothing worth fighting for? And I think he got that. Oh, I remember. He said it to me, and then I heard it was said by the Irish actor. Can't remember his name now. But it's a story. And it's of a man who gets to the gates of heaven. And St. Peter says to the man, "Give me your book of life." And St. Peter starts paging. And then he says to the man, "Show me your scars." Continues paging. The man looks to St. Peter and says, "Scars? What scars? I have none." St. Peter stops, closes the book and says, "You have no scars, you say. What a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for?"
Yeah.
And that advice, because obviously he spent his entire life fighting for a cause, it was worthwhile. And for me, that advice, I mean, it shapes everything that I do. You get scarred up a little bit when you fight for climate and for politics and to try build a proper democracy in South Africa.
Especially at your age, I'm sure that plays a massive factor.
Oh, it's impossible.
To be taken seriously.
You have to work twice as hard to prove that you belong in the room, but then you also have to be careful not to show that you're a know-it-all, because then no one likes a know-it-all.
100%.
That's a fact. I've been a know-it-all for a while, so believe me, no one likes a know-it-all. But you must just have something worth fighting for. That's the advice I've gotten from my grandfather, and I've lived by it because he's lived by it. And he's my hero. He's my hero, my grandfather.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This is a question that a lot of people tend to find a bit more difficult to answer. What is the worst piece of advice that you've ever been given?
I get it from everyone when I'm bummed about something that happens, and that opportunity will come again. It won't. I adopted it for a while, and I have in my 20 years of life, because I'm 20, in my 20 years of life, I have enormous regrets about opportunities that I let slip me by because I felt that they'd come again, and they never did. Take opportunities as they arrive with both hands. And never let go.
Yeah.
Because you never want to find yourself in that coulda, shoulda, woulda mindset. I could have been here. I should have done this. I would have been there. Because it'll eat your soul. And I swore to myself, I will never find myself in that coulda, shoulda, woulda mentality, because I thought it'll come again. When it comes, I will take it.
Beautiful.
And I'm not going to apologize for it.
And there's a quote that goes, rather regret something you did than something you didn't. And I really believe in that. I really, really fully agree with that. Otsile, I can't thank you enough. This has been fantastic. Honestly, we need to do a follow-up when you're president and solve climate change.
You're going to get me in trouble with that one there.
And there's 6 million youth voters that say you've encouraged them, which I don't doubt is going to happen. But please look into that camera, and it's the final question for today. What is your advice to others?
My advice to you would be this. Take life with both hands. You're never going to get another opportunity. This is your one shot. When the curtains close, there won't be an encore. You need to do what you want with this life and never apologize for it, because at the end of the day, it has to do with what you want for yourself. I live my life doing what I want, and I'm happy because of it. Don't live your life for others, live it for yourself, and chase the highest, truest expression of yourself, and you'll have no regrets at the end.
Wow, brilliant. If there was an audience here, they would be standing up, no doubt about it. We tend to end off every podcast with a prayer, if that's okay with you, and then we just pray. Thank you so much for your time. This has been fantastic. So, dear Father God, we come to you in praise today to say thank you for another day and for the opportunity to move closer to you through it. I thank you so much for Otsile and what you're doing in his life, and how much you are using him as a vessel to impact the youth and to share wisdom with us all. Thank you for the gift of today. Thank you for the people you're making us. I pray that you'll bless everyone watching this and help them to move closer to you as a result. Amen.
Amen.
Brother.
Thank you so much.